Hi there, and a very warm welcome to Season 5, Episode 15 of People Soup. It's Ross McIntosh here. Pea Soupers this week, it's a cup of soup, one of our short episodes, and by popular request, I'm going to update you on some of the projects I'm working on at the moment, to give an insight into how I'm applying contextual behavioural science and other evidence-based approaches in the workplace. I also wanted to update you on an idea I've got for a new podcast aimed at leaders. People Soup is an award-winning podcast where we share evidence-based behavioural science in a way that's practical, accessible and fun to help you glow to work a bit more often. Before we go on, let's just scoot over to the news desk, because reviews are in for our last episode, which was a very special encore, my chat with my dear friend Louise Gardner, our ACT auntie. And I invited people to share what struck them most in the episode, and Chris said it was the fun and the laughter. Anne said, "A lovely energy and much wisdom. I enjoyed listening to this again." And Big G, my own dad, said, "We miss you, Lou. God bless." Well, thank you so much to everyone who listened to that very special encore. Your support is much appreciated. And as Anne and Chris said, Lou radiates such warmth and wisdom and compassion. So, let me give you some insights on the projects I'm working on at the moment. I'm co-designing, developing and delivering a coaching skills program for leaders and managers in a global fast-moving consumer goods organization. This is an ongoing project and it's going down a treat. It's super exciting and such a joy to see people applying skills and insights from behavioural science in the context of coaching. I'm also designing and delivering training to support workplace and leadership well-being in 3 NHS trusts. And I'm working with a major UK government department to design and deliver workshops to help leaders cultivate skills for change. And there's a couple more projects I'd like to tell you about. And both involve working as part of a small team to provide intensive leadership development coaching, one for a regulatory body and one in an organisation in a global clinical research setting. And finally, my work alongside Dr. Paul Flaxman, #FlaxyBabes, continues. We are looking to explore how the ACT in the Workplace protocol we designed is being adapted and used most effectively in the NHS, and we're working with the University of Makerere in Kampala, Uganda, with Roscoe and Kamisi, on a project to adapt the ACT in the Workplace protocol for a Ugandan audience to make it useful for adults in the workplace and particularly in healthcare settings. So that is super exciting. I'm always looking for ways we can bring ACT to a wider workplace audience, and this is hitting new highs. And my work alongside Jamie Tapper continues as we bring behavioural science to professional ballet dancers, which is always a thrill to get a glimpse into a totally different workplace context. And as you might gather, this work is giving me such insights into the leadership challenges that adults are facing in the workplace today. So I thought to myself, Ross, you could put these insights to good use, combine them with contextual behavioural science to show its flexibility and the variety of application. So hence, I am designing a new podcast, and the working title is Let's Get Quizzical, the People Soup Leadership Workout. And I'll come back to the origin story of that working title in just a moment. Pea Soupers sometimes tell me they miss the short skills development episodes. And I do too. I love designing and delivering them and making them playful and hopefully fun. And I want to bring them back in this dedicated podcast with the intention of supporting leaders. So I'm talking about themes I'm noticing. Let me just share with you some of them, see if any of them resonate with you as a leader. And these are derived from work in both group and individual coaching sessions. Leaders are telling me they're tired, feeling the weight of their responsibility working in complex environments that shift and change. Sometimes they're feeling a bit lonely. Sometimes leaders are finding it difficult to disconnect from work and prioritise their own well-being and self-care. Some leaders are grappling with the trend of authenticity. What does it look like, how we can show up as our authentic selves? And how do we express vulnerability at work, and to which audience? Some leaders are just feeling a bit stuck and demotivated, disconnected from what matters. Some are feeling issues they describe around confidence and self-esteem. Some are getting lost navigating the relationships with their peers, or perhaps a trepidatious relationship with their boss. And I think all the leaders I'm working with are struggling to some extent with fitting everything in. That's just a flavour of some of the current challenges that leaders are facing from my experience. And I share these, first of all, with the intention of showing we're not alone in facing these challenges. These are common across leaders. If you recognise any of these, you are not alone. But what I'd like to do with this new podcast is bring you bite-sized insights, perspectives and skills from contextual behavioural science to support you as leaders in enhancing your adaptability, help you explore what gives you meaning and purpose in your leadership role, help you relate more effectively to that internal chatter, enhance your self-awareness and your compassion towards yourself, as well as, and perhaps most importantly, supporting your own well-being. And the good news is that contextual behavioural science can support leaders in every area that I've just mentioned. So the idea of this podcast is you could consider me to be your additional leadership coach, helping you be the leader you'd love to be a bit more often. My intention is to launch this weekly podcast in April, and we'll see what develops from there. But I'd love to get your thoughts. Do you think there is a demand for this type of podcast for leaders? Bite-sized and skills-based? I'd really appreciate it if you'd let me know what you think of the concept. And I'm also really interested in what you think of the title, Let's Get Quizzical, the People Soup Leadership Workout. And I better tell you how I arrived at that title. So when I was thinking of leadership workout, my mind turned, of course. Well, wouldn't everybody's mind turn to Olivia Newton-John? And I thought about the video to that classic song, Let's Get Physical, which involved quite a vigorous workout. And I thought that's the sort of vibe I'm going for. Neon colours, maybe a velour headband, and that light-hearted and evidence-based approach to supporting you with enhanced leadership skills. So what do you think? Does that title work for you? Do you think it might attract an audience, or do you think people might just think I'm a bit loopy? Please do let me know what you think. So there you have it. A little bit about my current projects, a little bit about my intention for the new bite-sized podcast. I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse of what's underway at People Soup Towers. We'll be back next time, and our guests include Dr. Kevin Teo from Birkbeck, University of London, and Professor Ross White. So there's loads to look forward to, Pea Soupers. If you like this episode of the podcast, please could you do 3 things? Number 1, share it with one other person. Number 2, subscribe to the podcast and give us a 5-star review, whatever platform you're on, and particularly if you're on Apple Podcasts. The Apple charts are really important in the podcast industry. And number 3, share the heck out of it on the socials. This will all help us reach more people with stuff that could be useful. I love to hear from you, and you can get in touch at peoplesoup.pod@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at peoplesouppod. On Instagram, at people.soup. And on Facebook, we are at peoplesouppod. Thanks to Andy Glenn for his spoon magic and Alex Engelberg for his vocals. Most of all, dear listener, thanks to you. Look after yourselves, Pea Soupers, and bye for now.